everyone, this is Ilina and welcome to another LDRS Creative card video. In this video, I will show you how to build faux layers using masking. We're going to be using the A2 stitched card toppers layering dies along with the new stamp set Magnolia and the LDRS Creative watercolor paper. The watercolor paper is cut down to A2 size, which is 4¼ by 5½. So it's very convenient for A2 card fronts. So what I'm doing here, first I will stamp the Magnolia flower using Crayon ink. I will emboss using clear embossing powder, so I'm prepping my piece of watercolor paper with anti-static powder. And I'm stamping it a couple times so it's still wet when I apply the clear embossing powder. This is watercolor paper, and usually the ink dries much slower than regular paper, so it's very convenient for embossing. So now what we're doing is heat setting that clear embossing powder. Just make sure that your heat gun is nice and hot before you emboss it, so you avoid warping of the paper, of the watercolor paper. I had a little bit of warping, but after I was done coloring, that kind of my piece of watercolor paper flattened out. Here, I already die cut the image and the layer. I used the smallest of the rectangle dies. And what I'm doing here is masking the flower. First, I use the negative to position the positive on the right spot, so we have equal distance on all sides for that white border around. I'm doing the same with the layer. What I'm gonna do is I will mask around that rectangle and then remove the rectangle and do some ink blending. I position that one in the center, so I have again equal border on all sides. Since we're gonna adhere this entire panel onto a card base. Since again it's watercolor paper, it has a little bit more texture than regular cardstock. I'm kind of rubbing the edges there so we adhere nicely. You can see here it adhered to my mat, so I'm just pressing it down, making sure that it stays secure. I'm using ink blending brush and Tropical Sea hybrid ink to blend in that mask area. I'm blending more ink on the bottom and less on the top, so we get a kind of ombre look once we remove the masks. So again, I'm applying more on the bottom, and now I'm removing the mask. So you can see here the blended look. And now I'm using the Karin watercolor markers, brush bar markers, to do some watercoloring. I have traditional paintbrushes and a little jar of water. And I scribble down the markers onto a ceramic plate. You can use any palette or any non-porous surface that you have handy or you can even do it directly onto marker to paper watercolor technique. The LDRS Creative watercolor paper is awesome for the current markers, and it blends easily, very easily, even when you apply the markers directly onto the paper. And also it's very bright white and it's very smooth even though it is cold pressed watercolor paper. So I'm just quickly coloring here. As you can see, I'm applying first color, then removing some of that color from my paintbrush onto the paper towel, and then going back and kind of spreading that color that's already on the petals. I'm adding some gold yellow in the center of the magnolia, a little bud, and now we're going to color the leaves. I'm using olive green and olive black. I'm repeating the same process as I did for the flowers. So now we are done. Once it dries, I'm using my stamp positioning tool to stamp a sentiment from the same stamp set, the Magnolia floral stamp set. And I'm using the Raven Hybrid ink to stamp the sentiment a couple times. Now to finish off the card, I'm adding little half-back pearls, just for a little bit added interest and a little bit of sparkle. Added dots of liquid adhesive directly onto my panel. And I'm just picking up the pearls and adding them. Okay, I think we're done. And what is left to do is now to adhere that panel onto our note card. I'm using top folding white note card that I made from 4¼ by 11 piece of white cardstock that's scored in half. And we are done. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click on the subscribe button to subscribe to the LDRS Creative YouTube channel. Also, please visit our blog for more inspiration and more ideas. Thanks for watching. Bye!